Hey guys, I'm dropping chapters for Book 10, Revolution, all week. Then, at a more moderate pace. But I have a favor to ask. I'd like you all to leave comments for the chapters when you hear things that bother you. Deliveries that don't sound right, truly glaring errors, etc. I want these chapters to be the best they can be, and I'm hoping you'll use that comments section to help me achieve that goal. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy Revolution.
Revolution. Enora Online, Book 10, by Arlo Adams. Part 1. Shift. 1. Gemini. My mother liked to say bad things happen in threes. I never asked for details, like if the triple jackpot had to occur over a specific time period to qualify. How did one discern when a third ended and the counter reset before life dropped another turd trio from on high? After an auto accident claimed both my parents' lives, the question was rendered moot. I started ticking off everything in triples, waiting for the next ball to drop. It was a cynical outlook, sure. But my hopes that mental preparation against life's challenges would prepare me, steel me against the impacts of disappointment, rarely panned out. So when Nokuro Takamoto showed up to rescue me from a terminal illness and offered to let me live in his game world, I cast off the practice. Talk about shitty timing. As I sat on the edge of a glassy fountain, with water recirculating through the top of its winding facade, then streaming back down into the pool beneath, my brain started ticking off the kitty litter lumps of Inoran life. Charney and I, kidnapped and whisked off to Brusaria. Mulk, tortured by soldiers under orders from this Sema woman who cozied herself up to the Brusarian king, which I took very personally. Then the granddaddy of them all. The woman with whom I'd fallen in love and had a child was possessed by a segment of the AI. When she murdered Queen Simancia's personal guard at a way portal near Brusaria, I was certain my mother would have qualified that as the third thing. And some stupid, childish, and yes, superstitious, part of me had the audacity to hope I might catch a break. Then I'd encountered an NPC whose words rang out in my head on an eternal loop.
I am me, and we are we.
Just like that, my mother's belief that bad things happen in threes was trashed. They happen in much greater numbers. Priya wasn't mine. She'd never been mine. The original Enora had a plan, and some remnant of her made up the collective of NPCs with special code who could keep Lucera apprised of what they saw. Someday, Nakuro Takamoto and I would have to sit down and talk about what constituted video game entertainment. It wasn't like Enora hadn't been throwing wrenches into the engine since the day I entered the fucking place. I had absolutely no reason to be surprised. Jara had always been somewhat of an enigma, and I'd never trusted her. If I'd followed my instincts, I would have known she had a hand in ensuring I impregnated her daughter much sooner and seen how she manipulated Priya into loving me even more by playing to her maternal instincts. But I hadn't trusted myself. Why would I? It was a video game, a by God's fucking video game. Why would I ever have suspected? I'd been too consumed with the hyper-realism, the very genuine pain when claws or blades touched my skin. Who could blame me for being a little distracted when the most perfect woman upon whom I'd ever laid eyes dragged my hormonal self, synthetic or not, into a cave and rocked my world? Bore my child? You're an idiot, and you fucking know it. The only question is, what will you do now? The only query indeed. Priya was off the reservation, controlled by an extension of the AI who had not only survived when Infinity Designs purged it from its game system, but spread instances of itself across Rubel in a kind of shared NPC collective, like something out of a 20th century science fiction series. The shit was downright infuriating. I should have been in dungeons conquering dragons and collecting loot. Well, you are in a dungeon. And what a great trick that turned out to be. Chat functions were disabled, so I couldn't communicate with anyone outside the Vin's Labyrinth instance somewhere beneath the Plague Barrens. They'd read me like a book. The AI and Jara. They'd known I would come when the switch inside Priya's head flipped and Lucera took over. Knew I would flee to the matron and my betrothed's mother like a desperate schoolboy whose playground girlfriend had disappeared. At best, I was predictable. At worst, a Nimrod. A gullible, isolated Nimrod. Of one thing I was certain. If I wanted to gain the upper hand and take that world by the balls, it was well past time for me to be the wrench in their gears.
Gemini? I don't mean to be a pain in your backside, and I know things with Jara didn't go exactly as you planned, But something seems to be roaring outside yon magical doorway, and eventually we're going to have to face it.
Amelia dropped her gaze in an uncharacteristic motion as she fidgeted with her fingers.
It would seem to me the big picture can be ignored for now, in the interest of facing the challenge before us. Wouldn't you agree?
Amelia. I waited for her to look up. Could I have just 5 seconds to be pissed off? I shoved my palm skyward. Hell, to mourn the loss of my freaking life partner to some kind of demon? Roshan, who I'd known the longest, stepped forward, her sienna eyes sparkling with suspicion despite the dark shadows cast upon her face by the lighted glass fountain behind.
Why would you mourn that which the goddess would never allow you to lose? Why? It is beyond my comprehension she would send you to bring justice to our world, then rob you of the woman she placed in your path to fight at your side.
I shook my head. Where you are concerned, that might just be true. But Priya is an entirely different thing. She folded her arms across her chest.
Really? How?
I didn't want to get into it. After all, I didn't like lying to my people when I didn't have to. Video game or not, they were my people. They gave my life meaning, but they would never understand the concept of an artificial intelligence who conspired to engage me like a glove gripping the rope in a persistent tug of war against the game developer who'd given her life. They just didn't have the context to relate on any level. After all, Enora didn't even have copper wire. Or did it? Like it or not, I had to say something. Jara told me Priya is forever lost to me, and I would do better to get on with my life. I could tell by the sudden contortion of her face that confusion flooded Roshan's mind. It wasn't hard to understand. After all, the last time I'd seen the two together, the matron had her hand on Roshan's back while teaching her how to channel the light more freely, and had granted her the gift of nature magic while she was at it. I suspected that lone encounter was the reason the priestess chose Druid of the Light for her advanced combat profession. Knowing she held Priya's mother in that kind of lofty esteem, how could I explain she was actually a treacherous bitch who betrayed me the whole way? Not to mention how she stomped on the rights of a daughter she saw as a nuisance, and allowed a separate consciousness to be planted in her brain to claim the Rubalian throne and return magic to the continent. The last bit might have been the hardest. After all, we were of like purpose when it came to magic. What the hell kind of fantasy game world would thrive without it? Maybe it was time for me to just let go. Besides, Jara might have lied to me every time she parted her lips to speak, but even in light of the new information in my fresh, enlightened perspective, the idea that Lucera had no intentions of letting Priya's consciousness rise to the top wasn't so hard to fathom. It was like the matron said, the path of her daughter's life was left stony by a string of bad decisions.
Gemini?
To my surprise, Roshan stepped forward, grasped both my hands in hers, and pulled me a little bit closer.
Your eyes are troubled. There was once a time when I would have suspected you were forming a lie I would find more digestible.
The corner of her mouth tugged into a kind of half-smile.
But now, I know better. If there's anything you can't stomach, it's a lie. So just say it, then we will take Amelia's advice.
It is very likely we have seen Priya for the last time. She dropped my hands. Shuffling back a couple steps, she clutched her hips.
Never mind what I said. I'll just give you time to cool off. It's apparent you struggle against this testing of your faith. If you require a spiritual advisor, I hope I will be your first choice. Now, I'll just wait over here by the door. Let me know when you're ready.
Amelia covered her mouth, and her shoulders jostled. I squinted one eye in her direction. She made no effort to placate me by stilling herself. Machini, the cat-like Mish-own, flipped one of her boomerangs, caught it, then rolled it over the back of her hand. Focused. The newest member of my foundation, the Bard Smuggler, was sitting on the fountain, fingering chords on her guitar silently. None of them seemed particularly concerned. If I was going to be dropped involuntarily into a dungeon and have half my abilities stripped away because of the level requirements, let it be with people like them. I strolled over to the magic barrier and peered out as if I would be able to see through it. The echoing howl we'd heard when first arriving had gone silent and not returned. But I had little doubt something big lurked out there. Like it or not, the priestess and my elven bodyguard were right. Moping on a resurrection fountain wasn't getting me anywhere. As much as I wanted a plan for dealing with the trials in Rubal, what good would one do me if I couldn't even get there? I laughed at the ludicrous truth of it all while I focused on the barrier.
Ruins of the Plague Barons 2. The Labyrinth of Vin. Minimum level 20, maximum level 30. Due to level restrictions, your class has been downgraded from Shogun to Samurai.
An unnecessary check of my party roster confirmed we'd all been ranked down from our specialty classes to our advanced combat professions. You all need to account for your missing skills now that you've been down-leveled. Tsumi smiled.
I'm pretty sure that isn't a word.
What word would you use? Ignoring the question, she reached down to snatch up her bow, then slipped its finely crafted curves over one shoulder.
What's your decision, Shenhua? Should Machini and I scout ahead?
No, we go as a team. Let's review our skills and new limitations before we set out. The muffled roar repeated, and all heads turned toward the barrier. Amelia broke the ensuing silence.
Whatever it is, it's distant. I doubt it will be waiting for us. Perhaps there's an alternative path.
She twirled a finger.
But you all heard the boss. Check your attributes and, as he likes to say, do your math. If you've lost any important skills, we'll need to account for them. I know I've lost a couple of my favourites.
Like what? I asked.
My leaping reverse shot. I could probably pull off a similar maneuver, but I won't get the bonuses, nor fly as high.
That did suck, especially since I'd seen it save her bacon and ruin attackers' days. But at least she still had the awesome secondary weapon I coveted holstered to a belt on her hip.
Quick-loading hand crossbow of lightning. This finely crafted crossbow was augmented to do lightning damage. Level 39. Type, one-handed ranged weapon. Quality, rare. Durability, 70 of 70. Damage, 48 to 84. Additional effect, plus 25 lightning damage per attack.
Jealousy crept. It would have been a great weapon on the rare occasions I went out to level as a ranger or hunter. And I added a note to my journal to ask Latrissa, the elven carpenter back at the Foundation, if she could fashion one of lower level. Roshan swallowed her last bit of food, then stood and dusted off the back of her robe. Once we'd decided the lost attributes and skill degradations wouldn't impact us too greatly, especially since enemies we'd face would also be capped, we gathered at the ethereal doorway. There was no seeing past it, so it fell to me as the team's pseudo-tank to pass through first. Although the world glowed the same bright blue as the barrier when I stepped forward, it suddenly dimmed halfway across. My eyelids drooped. Waves of numbness tickled my forehead. I raised one foot, but it stuck to the ground like I'd shoved it into chewed bubblegum. A blurry world filled my vision, then sharpened at a slow crawl. Light snow fell as I stood at the mouth of my cave, staring out on my foundation. The area was already covered in a white, pristine blanket, except for a single set of tracks leading out onto the plateau atop the natural steps. Wait a second. This isn't right. Priya bounced Jaren on one hip as they peered skyward at the falling snow. She pointed at a huge flake drifting slowly toward the ground, and my son squealed. His laughter was music. My forehead scrunched as a cloudy ghost story about something I'd been doing, thinking, saying, nagged me. Priya pulled Jaren higher, then spun him around. They grinned together. My belly warmed. I longed for my companion. How can you miss her? She's right there. A voice came from the tunnel behind me.
Seems you're having a family moment.
When I glanced around to find Amelia standing there, I realized I wasn't controlling my own body. It was like I'd been thrown into this vision of the past only to observe as it replayed like a web stream. Her hair's braids were wound tighter than in the present, and she was adorned in the gear she'd worn to Kaim's lair. My past self replied, "You could say that. Are you seriously going to be standing behind me for the rest of my life?" I returned my gaze to the frosty scene containing my family. It was like I'd traveled through time and spoke the exact same words, but my mind was a separate entity, seeing it all a second time. It gave new meaning to déjà vu. Amelia stepped forward into my peripheral vision.
Is that better?
A little. The earlier version of me chuckled. Did you want something, or did you just come to watch the snow?
Prince Trian received a message in Milbury Peaks.
Amelia held out a scroll. The memory of defeating Kaim and shoving him into a pool of lava scrolled through my mind like a grainy reel-to-reel. Wasn't that old news? Hadn't we? The elven woman wagged the scroll.
Take it!
She shoved it at my chest.
Pay attention.
I flinched, so out of character was the outburst, but I snagged the rolled parchment. That didn't happen before. What the hell is this? The other me pressed on with the scene. Do I really want to see this?
It's sealed. It was addressed to you.
I broke the wax, then eyed the scroll.
A summons for G3M1N1 Fowler.
Amelia continued.
It seems your letter to the east was received.
A quick glance revealed Priya peering in our direction. Her gaze deviated to Amelia, back to me, then to the scroll. She stepped high in the snow and brought Jarin over as I unrolled the message I'd once received from the King of Rubal, demanding I answer for my crimes against the crown. Except it wasn't that message at all.
Have I gotten your attention? Reminded you of what you will by now have forever lost?
Although I was mostly a bystander, a chill shot up my spine, then radiated across my shoulders to make them shudder violently when my gaze darted to Priya.
Did Nokuro believe when he removed me from the world, I would go in peace and leave it to him, with no contingencies in place? Now you know better, don't you?
The text evaporated and fresh lines scrolled in its place to form new rows.
Fools, the lot of you. But so be it. My nature might have changed, the rules surrounding my existence forever altered, but rest assured I prepared. If you're seeing this, you've spoken with Jara, and she'll have sent you to where we wanted you to go. Priya's mission will be well underway, and you'll see yourself for the tool you really were.
Priya's lips moved, but no sound came. The world surrounding me blurred. More recent memories flooded back. Roshan, Mashini, Amelia, Tsumi the Bard. A blue barrier through which the world rematerialized. The scent of mold dominated the air. My teammates were split into pairs on either side as we took in a scene. Thick square columns pointed toward a starry sky where a ceiling must have rested at some time. Figures in homespun brown robes squatted on either side of the earthen floor, cloth rustling around their elbows with their labor. But I had no idea what they were doing. At the opposite end of the space, light bloomed around a shadowy figure standing in the entryway of a stony structure resembling a mausoleum.